Hi, I'm Doug Reeves. Thanks for joining our video series, Inspiring Creativity and Innovation in K-12. Today I want to talk about creativity and leadership teams. And by the way, I'm not just talking about administrators. We know that teacher leaders are the foundation of effective leadership in any system. So what I want to encourage all of you, whether you're a superintendent or a board person or a teacher who's a member of a grade level leadership team, I want you to think about how opinions change over time. Richard Elmore of Harvard wrote a wonderful book called I Used to Think, and Now I Think. And Elmore's title could guide all of us in being better leaders in creative decision making. So I want to ask you this question. What can you think of that you knew for sure was true 10 or 20 years ago, but now you know is not true? In order to be a creative leader, you must answer that question. We've got to identify our previous misconceptions and how our thinking has evolved over time. And I will tell you, it's not easy. Often when I work with groups, the answer is nothing. We can't think of anything that we used to think was true and now we think is untrue. And if that's the case, your thinking is not advancing over time. If you expect students, teachers to be creative, leaders have to set the tone by saying, here are some mistakes that I made. So I'm going to lead the way on this, and I'll give you some examples of things where I used to think something was true, but now I know it's not true. Let's take learning styles theory. I believed in this with my whole heart, but more recently, Daniel Willingham, John Hattie, and others have established that learning styles, that is, students are kinesthetic, auditory, or visual, is simply not true. It's one more label that we attach to students. Now, certainly we ought to be able to adapt teaching to a variety of learning preferences, but the idea of diagnosing them and teaching to a particular style is not true. And I had to admit that I was wrong about that. Think about the way that a lot of people have misinterpreted Howard Gardner's work on multiple intelligences. A lot of people thought that that was the antithesis of high standards. It's not what Howard Gardner says. In fact, I can quote him from memory saying, sometimes I am aligned, I should say maligned, with forces against high standards. Gardner continues, I am a demon for high standards. There's no contradiction between academic rigor and creative enterprise with multiple intelligences. Our thinking has to advance. And I'll just close with this idea. Sometimes people will come up to me and say, well, Doug, if you were wrong about this that you believed 10 or 20 years ago, why should we believe you now? Here's the answer. Beware the researcher who is always conveniently right and never has to say a hypothesis was untrue. That smacks of contrivance. What I think you ought to trust is the leader who's willing to talk about mistakes, talk about learning, and that is the essence of creativity. Thanks for listening. See you next time.